Now, Cincinnati Connection, connecting you to your community.
Welcome to another edition of Cincinnati Connection. I'm your host, Charisse Gibson. So every year on December 1st, people worldwide united fight against HIV, showing support for those living with HIV and remember those who died from AIDS-related illnesses on World AIDS Day. So in 2017, there were approximately 36.9 million people worldwide living with HIV/AIDS, but AIDS-related deaths have been reduced by more than 51% since its peak in 2014. Now, that's according to HIV.Gov. So where does the city of Cincinnati stand in this statistic? And are people getting the proper treatment and preventatives, not only here, but nationwide? Here to answer some of our questions is Jaasiel Chapman. He's the Clinical Research Community Educator at UC's College of Medicine Infectious Diseases Center. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, so can you just give us an idea of exactly where we are with the city of Cincinnati, where we stand when it comes to HIV and AIDS?
Yeah, so currently in the city of Cincinnati, we see around approximately 100 to 200 new infections every year. And it has been increasing because of the opioid epidemic that we are currently facing. So we are seeing more when the virus itself is 100% preventable.
Yeah. So, and you know, when you bring up the opioid epidemic, you would think that those numbers would be much higher than that because we're dealing with such a crisis here it's just in the state of Ohio, period.
Right. That is so true. It's part of the gateway where going through 75 is so many states are accessible from where we are. So a lot of drugs unfortunately come through here, and addiction is so prevalent in our area, and so many people are afflicted and are dealing with addiction, and we have to put programs in place such as needle exchange programs so that we don't have new HIV infections.
So, I mean, tell us this. I know that we are in 2018 now. You know, I don't know if you're familiar with the television show Pose.
Yes.
And it's become one of my favorite shows. And it's one of my favorite shows because it tackles a topic of when HIV and AIDS were, it was considered a death sentence. And now here we are so many years later, fast forwarding, this is no longer considered a death sentence. You could actually be HIV positive and have a long, healthy life, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. Medicine has progressed and come a long way. Not only can individuals now live close to a normal lifespan, they can achieve viral suppression where they are unable to pass along the virus to other individuals as well. So, and then also for those that are at risk, we have preventative measures such as PrEP. Pre-exposure prophylaxis, and I liken it to birth control for HIV. So currently the only FDA-approved form of PrEP that we have on the market is a pill form. It's a medication called Truvada. It's a pill taken daily.
You've heard about that?
That has been proven to be 99% effective in preventing a new infection if someone were to be exposed to the virus.
Okay, so when it comes to PrEP, can you break it? I've been seeing a lot more about PrEP. I mean, can you tell us exactly how long did it take to get to something that can help add to these preventative measures?
Absolutely. So the drug itself, Truvada, was approved by the FDA in 2004.
Okay.
And it was approved for those that were living with HIV as part of a treatment. So in order to treat someone effectively that is living with the virus, you need at least 3 drugs from 2 classes of drugs. Truvada only has 2 drugs in it, so it by itself could not effectively treat someone that was living with the virus. But consequent studies showed that Truvada by itself could prevent a new infection if anyone were to be exposed to the virus. So in 2012, the FDA approved that drug for the usage of PrEP. So it's been around for 6 years, and now we're actually doing a study at UC that is studying an investigational drug, and it's an injectable form of PrEP, which will be hopefully approved by the FDA by 2021, and that will give individuals an alternative form of accessing their PrEP, because a lot of people, struggle to take a pill every day and would like to get a shot every 8 weeks and still be protected from contracting the virus.
And now we know that we have a lot of people who are dealing with opioids who are affected by HIV and AIDS.
Absolutely.
You know, when it comes to classes of people, exactly who is it that's mostly directly affected?
So the 3 main groups that we are seeing that are still mostly affected are MSM, men who have sex with men, and especially black men who have sex with men, opioid, intravenous drug users, and black women.
I mean, why is it still at that point? Because I feel like when it comes to the African American community, the numbers have always been very high.
Right.
Why is there no change in that, especially since we're seeing so many advancements in different drugs, having PrEP, having Truvada. A lot of people are being more, they're acknowledging exactly how to prevent this from happening. So why is it that we're not seeing a change in numbers? Now, we've seen a significant drop in deaths, but I mean, a change in the number of people who've been affected.
Right. I think it has a lot to do with socioeconomic status and also health disparities and being able to have access to health care.
Yeah.
And also another thing is stigma. There's still a huge stigma surrounding HIV within the African American community. And stigma only helps to fuel the epidemic. And we must come against that and talk about it. Have a conversation. Just because we don't talk about it does not mean it's going away.
Yeah, it's not happening.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The only way we can get rid of it is if we talk about it and erode that stigma that's surrounding it.
Okay.
And we can make great strides that way. So
now that we have World AIDS Day that's approaching, I mean, can you tell us this? How are we approaching it differently than we did when it initially started back in 1988?
That's a great question. So with this being the 30th anniversary of World AIDS Day, not only commemorating and remembering the 36+ million lives that were lost to the disease, but looking forward and looking at where we are now and looking at where we're going. Part of the things, like we have preventative measures that we have with PrEP. We will be conducting a cure study at UC next year. So being able just to talk about and use the word cure when it comes to HIV, when 30 years ago it was a death sentence. I had a friend that told me that he's an older gentleman that when he was diagnosed with HIV, the health department sent him a pamphlet with a picture of a graveyard in the front. And that is so disheartening. Like, in the 80s, we knew it was a death sentence, but to just show it in that way is so disheartening. But we have come a long way. Yeah,
you just saying that, like I told you, that television show Pose, it made you see it in a different light.
Absolutely.
And how people would go in and they would get tested. And this was at sort of the height of when we were just learning about what this was. And so we didn't know if there was a cure. How do you fix this? Can you live with this? But people went in and it was just sort of a matter of time. Before, but now completely different. And it's something that we have to talk about. I mean, where is it that we can go, that we can get more information, that if people need to talk to someone, because whether you know you have it or don't, you need to know about this.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's a great thing. I stress and I tell everyone that they need to get tested. Even if you don't believe that you're at risk, if you are sexually active, if you use drugs, any kind of drugs or needles whatsoever, you need to get tested. Everyone needs to get tested. That's the only way you'll know your status. And I stress that it's no longer a death sentence. The medications have progressed to the point where it's not a death sentence. So they can go to the health department here in Cincinnati. There's an organization called Carico in Northside that does testing, and they can contact us at UC as well.
All right, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you so much for having me.
Very important topic, and of course, we want to make sure we put this on our website, fox19now.com, in case you want to know more. We'll be right back.